and we are clouded by the fitna, problems and difficulties. Then Prophet ﷺ said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Al-Makhraj huwa kitabullah. The way out is the book of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لأن فيه نبأ ما قبلها وخبر ما بعدها وحكم ما بينكم. Because in the book of Allah there is an information and the story of those people who come before you, and there is the story of people who will come after you, and there is the law and the verdict of what you will have as a problem, and the solution will be in that book. Then Prophet ﷺ said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, وَمَنْ ابْتَغَى غَيْرَ الْقُرْآنِ مِنَ الْهُدَى فَقَدْ أَضَلَّ. You should know that in that time, whoever will seek guidance not from Quran, that person will be a miserable person. So from this perspective, we realize that the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam always emphasize on the importance of getting attachment to glorious Quran. That is why it is said, تَفَكَّهُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ فَإِنَّهُ رَبِيعُ الْقُلُوبِ. Ponder and have knowledge of Quran, because Quran is the spring of the heart. In other words, if Muslims are far away from Quran, Allah Ta'ala will examine them with problems and difficulties. But now the question is it about reciting Quran alone and not pondering in the verses of Quran? As we mentioned the other day, seeking the knowledge of Quran and reciting Quran, it is also wajib upon a Muslim. Like one of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt said, وَأَحْسَنُ تِلَاوَتَهُ فَإِنَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْقِصَصِ. When you recite it, you should recite it very, very well, in a very nice way, because Quran is the best of the stories and the best of the histories. Now, as you know, we're going to begin with our tafsir of glorious Quran. And as I said, we're going to focus on the tafsir of chapter Hujurat, which is regarded as a social chapter in glorious Quran. Because Quran itself emphasis on the importance of pondering on the verses of Quran. As Allah mentioned in Quran, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Can't they ponder into the verses of Quran? Is their heart locked and sealed? If your heart is not sealed and is not blocked, then Allah Ta'ala is urging me and you to ponder on those verses of glorious Quran. I remember one of the teachings of Imam Jafar concerning the issue of the tafsir of Quran. Imam said, A'ribul Quran. Try to analyze the verses of Quran and make sure those verses of Quran will be the reflection of your life. In other words, take Quran as medication. As ulama mentioned, Quran is regarded as a pharmacy. You know, when you are sick, sometimes you go to the pharmacy and you have the pharmacist to prescribe something for you so that you'll get cure of your sickness. Quran is also regarded as a divine pharmacy. Whoever has got a disease of the heart or a disease of the soul, the only solution is Quran al-Kareem. Even sometimes, you know, we have psychologists, whereby when you have sometimes maradun nafsi, psychological problems, we refer to them for their advices. Sometimes we might visit psychologists 100 times and nothing will happen, and will not even get the result of what we want to achieve. Some of our ulama emphasize on the importance of taking Quran as your medication when you have a spiritual problem or psychological problem, because Quran is capable of solving that problem. Now when you go to Quran, every chapter of Quran that you see, Almighty Allah Ta'ala begin that chapter with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. When you look at Quran and you dissect Quran properly, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim appeared in Quran 114 times. 113 times appeared in the beginning of each and every chapter of Quran. 130 times and 114 appeared in chapter Naml, where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala talks about Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salatu wassalam, when Sulaiman wrote that letter of inviting Bilqis to the deen of Allah and to monotheism. What did he say? Innahu min Sulaiman wa innahu bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allah ta'alu alayya wa atuni muslimin. So according to Quran, when you look at Quran, 114 times Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim appeared in Quran. 113 times in the beginning of each and every chapter of Quran. Only the 114th one as the one which is in chapter 9. And looking at this, you realize that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is part and parcel of each and every chapter of Quran. Because according to numerous ahadith, that's what we see from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is not distinct from any chapter of Quran. That is why even when we make salah, before you recite chapter Ham, what we start with? You begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There are a lot of references regarding to that, but only one reference I will refer to it, which has to do with chapter Fatiha. آتَيْنَاهُ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ, when Allah mentioned in Quran that we gave Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam 7 chapters of Quran, 7 verses of Quran. Allah now is referring that to Sab'a, to chapter Fatiha or chapter Ham. When you look at the chapters or the verses, they are 7 verses. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says Sab'a. If Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is not an independent verse of Quran, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not going to say Sab'an min al-Masani. Because when you leave Bismillah, the other verses will be only 6 verses of glorious Quran. That is why one of the hadiths of Ahlul Bayt said, what is the problem of the people? This is how the hadith is. That they are throwing away one of the verses of Quran. Then they ask Imam, which verse of the Quran they threw away? Then Imam said they threw Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So every chapter of Quran starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Now this Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, when you look at it very well and critically, first Almighty Allah starts with the Ba, letter Ba. You know, one unique thing about Islam and about Arabic for that matter, each and every letter in Arabic has a meaning. One letter in Arabic is capable of changing the whole sentence. It's not like the other languages which we have, like the letter B. What does it mean, really? B standing alone cannot tell you anything unless you join it and you connect it with something. But in Islam and in Arabic, when Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, that Ba alone, it has a meaning. What is the meaning of that Ba? It means you are seeking a help and support from Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then Allah comes with the Ism. Ism, as you know, literal meaning, it means name. But when you look at this Ism, it is derived from 2 terminologies. The first term that we get to Ism, some they call it Sima. Sima means alama, sign of something. So when Allah said Bismillah, I am beginning and seeking help through the ayat and the sign of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Some said no, the word Ism is not from Sima. The word Ism is from Sumu. Sumu is something which is higher, something which is elevated. So in other words, Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is highly elevated. So when you begin anything, especially Quran, you begin with something which is highly elevated. And you begin with the name of the one who is elevated. That is Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then you said Allah. Allah, as you know, it is referred to as Lafzul Jalala. It's a word referring to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You can't call anyone Allah. The only being that you can call Allah is the Allah which you know. And they said that is a very unique name, Allah. Because when you look at all the 99 names of Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Ar-Ra'uf, Al-Wadud, all those 99 names of Allah, they make tawaf around the word Allah. In other words, when you look at Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman is going back to Allah. Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahim is going back to Allah. And they said the word Allah is from the word Ilah. That's where we got the word Allah. And what is the meaning of Al-Ilah? It is meant everyone is bewailing towards Him, and everyone is seeking help towards Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you say Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. These are two important attributes. And when you look at this attribute, Ar-Rahman of Allah, a lot of explanation are there, but we're just going to make it very brief, inshallah. Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman is derogatory. What type of derogatory is? It is said when you look at Ar-Rahman of Allah, wherever you see Ar-Rahman, Allah Ta'ala will talk about believers and non-believers. In other words, the sifa Ar-Rahman of Allah is to help believers and to help non-believers. That is why when you see in Quran, where Allah will talk Ar-Rahman, you will see about those people who are astray and those people who are in vain. Whoever is in dalala in vain, he should get help from Ar-Rahman. In other words, the life that we live in this world, we are all living under the banner of Ar-Rahman. Muslim, when you go out to look for mercy of Allah, your rizq, you will get it. Jew, he goes out to look for the rizq of Allah, you get it. Kafir, Kafir, goes out to look for the rizq of Allah, you will get it, because we are all under the banner of Ar-Rahman of Allah. So Ar-Rahman is the sifa that is working all over the world, because if there is no Ar-Rahman of Allah, some will not get the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Ar-Rahim of Allah is working only for those who believe in Allah. That is why when you look at Quran, wherever Allah uses the word or terminology Ar-Rahim, you will see mu'min there. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ. And then he said, بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. So wherever you see mu'min, you will see Rahim. In other words, the sifa of Allah Rahim will work on the day of Qiyamah on those people who believe in Allah and worship Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in a nutshell, Ar-Rahman is for those who believe and those who don't believe. Ar-Rahim is for only those who believe in Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, tomorrow we will start with chapter Hujurat. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.